its owners and/or associates.
Lisa and Robin are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robin on the mic.
Welcome to Lisa and Robin on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM, and you can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live. I am watching Robin up and down on the chair.
I'm actually just trying to get my feet to touch the floor. It's like an elevator. Whoop.
I know. I would like my knees to be under this table, too.
Well, yes. And, like trying to
Find the lever. You can find the lever.
I just feel like I'm sitting really low. I can do this. Excuse me while we adjust. So, good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday.
Excited to be back in the studio after being off last week. We had a fantastic July 4th.
Oh, we had a great 4th of July. I wish the weather ended up being perfect. I think because if it had been really hot and sunny, it would have been just like miserable.
A broiler,
yes.
Living in a broiler.
Yes, I was outside yesterday afternoon watering my plants, and I had my bathing suit on, and I could just feel my back just cooking, like the heat. And literally, so I got in the pool, and I'm like, I'm going to just sink my shoulders under the water.
Did you hear yourself go tss?
I felt like I did. It's like steam coming off. But then, it cooled off like right around 4:30 or 5 o'clock that we had a breeze that came through, and it just like took that humidity, and it was just nice and cool. And we ate dinner outside, and we did steak tips. We did steak tips, and I made a tortellini pasta salad. When I did the sweet orange peppers. Just for the color, and I did pepper jack cheese, beef summer sausage, cucumbers, tomatoes, and the tortellini, and then I did like a balsamic vinegar and looking at the Newman's Italian dressing in there, and then I added just a tiny little bit of mayo into it just to make it like not even a half of
almost just to make it cling.
Just to kind of give it a little bit of a creamy texture to it. And so I think it gives a little bit more body for the oils and stuff to stick to. For whatever reason, it just seems to coat it. And there was no dry noodle. And then I put some fresh avocado in it.
Ooh.
It was so good. And then I made the black bean and the grilled corn salad. And I put tomatoes in that, red onion, a sweet red pepper, jalapenos, lime, olive oil, cilantro, pepper, and then I actually ended up doing. So I just thought you could have that on the side, but I ended up doing like the scoop tortilla chips, almost like a salsa, and it just was good. And we had fresh watermelon, and I was like, it's perfect summer. It's a perfect summer meal.
We had Mexican flavored stuffed peppers, a grilled corn salad, Mediterranean salad. So I just did tomatoes, red onions, cucumber, and I had a balsamic glaze on that, some parsley, and some feta cheese.
Yum, that sounds
And then I made red bliss potatoes, too. It was really good.
That sounds good.
And then we had s'mores.
I love s'mores.
And we had a fire at 90 degrees at night in the fire pit.
Well, it is what it is.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
Do you have any favorite slang words that are out of style?
Well, probably everything.
Yeah, I know because they use completely different slang now, but do you have any favorite slang words now?
Well, I wouldn't say they're my favorite. It's more of a habit. So I actually was like, so I had to go to the internet yesterday and look up because you're like, I'm like, what did we used to say? We were in that Valley Girl area stage. But so for 80s, my bad was big.
Yes.
I still say my bad.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever. Mm-hmm. That originated, I guess, in the 90s more so. In booyah.
Oh yeah, I forgot about booyah.
So those are 3.
And it's the way you say booyah
Yes.
too. You can't just say
yes.
booyah.
Yes. So those are my 3 that I still use today.
Okay.
So I don't know if I would say I have a favorite one.
I like cha-ching.
Cha-ching. Yes.
I do say cha-ching still, and I don't know if it's allowed. Hoochie.
Hoochie. Yes. Hoochie mama.
Hoochie mama.
I love it.
That was one. And then I love the British word. I love wanka
Wanka.
as an insult.
I don't think I've heard that one.
Yeah. It's kind of saying, this is not a swear, but it's not a great word either. You wouldn't want your son
But what does it
saying
mean?
You're a jerk off.
Oh, you're being a male anatomy.
In action. Yes.
I love it.
And then psych. Remember psych?
Yes. Psych.
You want
God.
some ice cream?
Psych. Yes. Schwing. Do you remember Schwing?
I do remember schwing.
Hasta la vista.
Yes. One of the words I like now, I like basic. That's kind of a slang.
Yes.
And then I like bougie. For
I like
slang
bougie.
now.
I also like bounce. Like we're gonna.
I'm
leave.
out of here. Yes, I do like bounce.
Let's bounce.
Yes, I like bounce.
Oh, so 80s.
Yeah.
Gag me with a spoon.
Yes. Yes, and that's very Valley Girl to me.
And bodacious.
Ooh.
I like bodacious.
I like bodacious too. And then I used to have, my girlfriend and I used to use this one, and let me know if you've even heard it or if it's a word we made up and we just immediately knew what the other person meant, so that became our word. And the word is gunga.
Gunga. No, I don't think I've heard it.
So it's like a combination of gargantuan and huge. When you're, because I remember
Yeah.
I remember where I was. I was in 7th grade and I was in McDonald's, and this dude came through, and my friend goes, "God, he's gunga." It's like, yeah, he is gunga, and that became our word for enormous, like really big things, or
Oh my
anything
gosh.
like that was gunga. I might bring gunga back.
I like that. I could do that. Dude, that's Gunga. Do you remember the bomb?
Yes, I remembered the
And
bomb.
talk to the hand?
Yep.
What
I like
about-
fat, PHAT.
Oh my gosh, I have that one on there too. Like I never understood that one. I
I like-
did, but
Yeah, I like to say, I like tight
yes,
as
that's tight.
as a phrase, and then skag. Me and my girlfriend used to say skag, so that's skank and
s-
hag
Yeah,
at the
that's
same
good.
time.
Skag.
Skag.
Yes, because we did use skank.
Yes, we use skank all the time. She's a
Skanky.
skank,
Yes.
along with hoochie.
Yes. I also like fresh.
Yeah.
She's being fresh.
Mm-hmm.
I
say that
don't-
about my nephews all the time.
Do you remember gnarly?
Yes.
And the ones I don't like, cool beans.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool beans. And I've said that before, and I'm like, I hate that.
Yeah. I
No-
don't want to say that.
Do you remember no duh?
Yes.
And everyone like duh,
Duh. No duh.
no duh, and chillax. I didn't like it's
I don't remember that.
chill and relax.
Yeah.
Chillax. Why don't you just chillax? I don't know. I never
Or
liked that
maybe,
word.
what do you do when I'm chillaxing?
Yes, bite me.
Mm-hmm.
Butt ugly was a good was one
Yes.
back then.
That's a good
Now,
one.
so I don't use that one anymore. I use fugly,
Yes.
and like that's totally rad.
yes. Yes.
So we used to say like totally, and I know I say like a lot in my conversations.
I do too.
I think I use it as a pause.
I use it as a space holder. Yes.
Yes. So I'm like, oh,
I also use what as a space holder. So if you ask me a question,
yes.
I will sometimes just say what until I'm formulating my mind, even though I don't want you to rephrase the sentence
Yes.
or repeat the sentence. It's just I
Yes.
need my brain to catch up because my brain is somewhere else, nowhere where you are. So I need to catch up to this conversation.
I'm trying so hard to be present right now, but like my other browser is like pulling me this way.
Yes.
I do that too. And I think Chris has learned that when I say, what? The way he's like, he does give me that space because I'm like, he knows I'm just processing it. Like, wait, that hit me. Maybe I wasn't paying a whole attention. I wasn't actively being present. I think I was just I was listening.
But I'm going
and
to
then
catch up.
It caught me, and then I'm like, wait, I need to process that for a minute. I was like, it's probably a good one. So last night we had we were eating dinner outside, and Chris was saying grace for our dinner, and then he said something. I was like, oh, that's a good t-shirt.
What was it?
Attitude of gratitude. He was just saying, let's all be in a space of, may we all have an attitude of gratitude each and every day. And I was like, oh, that's a T-shirt. Hashtag attitude of gratitude.
I like it. We're going to start an Etsy store.
I know. And so I also, 2 other hashtags that I came about for T-shirts should be hashtag high vibes. I'm only, we talked last week or the last time we were on air about I just want to be around high vibrational people.
So I have seen, no exaggeration, in the last week, probably 10 baseball hats that say good vibes only.
I like it. Gosh, I just feel like, man, you hear something and something's put before you and you're like, wow, you're hearing this message over and over and over again. And it's so hard to ignore. So the other one was hashtag be about it. Just be about it. Your actions, we spend so much time talking.
That could almost be a slang.
Yes.
Be about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I actually used that a couple of times this week. Like, just stop. Just stop. Just be about it. Don't talk about it.
Don't talk about it. Don't analyze it. Don't.
Right.
Just.
And I think a lot of those things are present because if I were, you would ask me what we wanted to talk about. And I'm like, well, the things that have been rolling around in my mind are, hero or a victim in a bunch of different ways, how we show up in life and how we actually feel about ourselves. And I think a lot of it dictates. Then we're moving my daughter down to Boston Tuesday. I'm like, what day of the week is it? Well, Chris is listening to an audiobook, and I'm listening to it. So he put it on, and I'm listening to it, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, this is so in line with the book that I'm reading in the book that I just keep going back and replaying over and over chapters. So, like, there's 3 books that are right there. Had a conversation with Nick, our friend that was on the show. He does the Life Unlimited retreats. He's about mind, body, and spirit. And I just thought, wow, he said the exact same thing verbatim. So it just made me pause and contemplate. So it just, I'm excited for our discussion and just see where it's going to lead and just opening my mind. But in her book, she's talking about how vibration is, well, it's kind of what we've been saying all along.
And when you started talking about being a hero or a victim, I thought immediately, do we keep the promises to ourselves? Because I know so much of life is about promises. And I must have said, I watched my nephews this week, so my nephews for 3 days. And when they were giving me a hard time, when I needed them to do one thing, but they wanted to do another, and I was saying, you are going to do the other thing. I just need this thing first. I would say, I promise we're going to do that. And it sticks in your head of, okay, I have to make sure I do that thing later because I've promised them. But how many times I said promised him in 3 days? And I'm thinking, okay, so we actually promise a lot. We promise things at work. We promise things to our friends. We promise things to our family. And we promise things to ourselves. And when we run out of energy, who do we not fulfill the promise to? And it's mostly ourselves. Or for me, it becomes myself.
Yes.
I end up becoming, well, I promise these other people and then I thought that's where you can lose confidence in yourself is if you're always breaking promises to yourself.
Well, you're not instilling integrity to your word.
Right.
And so I think that creates a low vibration in us because there's something, we're going to start attracting these things or we dismiss it. There's a lot of times we use the word I promise so lightly.
Yes, but it's
well, you think about it, like there's times like, well, I'm sorry, I'll never put my feet on, I'll never put my feet on the couch again, or I'll never put my feet on the coffee table, or, I promise I'll never do that again, or I promise this, and it's just, I'm not sure why we say that. I don't know if it comes across as a threat, or like in that situation, I don't know if it comes across.
Or we're using it as an emphasis.
Yeah. But is it a way to diminish the other person to being like, I'm just being a little bit sarcastic? I'm dismissing you. I'm giving you lip service, but I'm not putting any back. So, and I think that sometimes when we hear that and we say, well, I promise to do that, it's a means to an end. And when we don't follow through with it, I actually think it disrupts our internal peace.
Well, I think we stop believing ourselves when we break our promises to ourselves, and then we don't believe in ourselves if we're constantly
yes.
breaking promises to ourselves, and then your confidence starts to falter because we don't believe in yourself anymore. Because you say that all the time. Just almost like to the inner child to yourself, or to whatever to yourself, of saying, I promise I'm gonna, even if whatever the promise is, and even if you don't use the word promise, but you say you're gonna do something and you don't do it. And it's one thing, you can feel bad for not doing it to somebody else, but there's a part of you that's really keeping score for yourself.
Yeah, I think it comes down to a part of you're not actually loving yourself. There's a part of us that aren't, hey, I'm going to get up to, this Monday I'm going to get up and go to the gym, and we don't go. Or tomorrow I'm going to work out, and we set an intention, and then we don't follow through. So there's a pattern interrupt in our energy, in our subconscious. It's knowing that, hey, we're not doing what we said we're doing. We're not staying in that flow. So I just wonder if that's where that energy or that it creates a space for negative feelings to enter.
Well, then how do you get yourself, if you do that over and over and over and over again, how do you motivate yourself, because your word alone isn't worth anything?
I think you start by being accountable. So where it comes into, so the things that I was,
So I'm going to ask you, are you a hero in your own life?
I try to be. None of us are perfect.
Right.
But actively, I think keeping... It's so funny. My brain is running a mile a minute, because I was listening. I was contemplating this, and I had written some things down, not even knowing we were going to talk about this. On Sunday night and Monday, I was talking about, are you a hero or are you a victim? And what's the difference? To me, when I think about, then I wrote down duty versus obligation. A hero or a warrior, so you can say a warrior or a hero, they see that their responsibility is a duty. So it's an honor. So I look at it as, it's a sense of pride. It's a sense of responsibility. It's a sense of accountability, but it's an honor. I feel like it's my duty. I feel honored to be my children's mom. I feel like it's an honor that she asked me to help her. I don't feel like it's an obligation. I feel like it's my duty, not just as her parent, but as an influence. I have the ability, we have the ability to shape every human being that we come in contact with.
Ooh, I really like that. I was listening to something and I thought, oh yeah, we don't have control over our lives, but we have influence over our lives.
Yes.
Because you're not going to control if you get hit by a car. I mean, you could just walk across the street without looking, and now it's your fault.
Right.
You didn't get hit by a car.
Right.
That you got hit by a car. But it's also, there's accidents or things happen, and you don't have control over your life at all times, but you can have influence over your life at all times.
Yeah. So what is your question? So what is your sense of when somebody says duty to you? What feeling does that invoke inside of you?
I like duty better than I like obligation.
So when you say obligation, when you hear the word obligation, what reaction does your body feel?
It feels tense.
Yeah, I wrote down, to me, it creates a negative response in me. It feels like a hassle. You're bothered. You're inconvenienced. You're sacrificing for, it's a burden.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I feel like it's not, and in no way, so choosing my mindset, she had a pattern interrupt. She had planned the day out, and she had a doctor's appointment that had gotten rescheduled, happened to be that day. But I'm also looking at, here's a young woman who has went and asked people that she feels safe with to help her move. It's to be a big part of her day. and allowing space for her to plan and organize it. So it's not, I'm just here for the help. I'm here for the support. I'm here to be the encourager. I'm not the boss. I'm not the leader. I'm sacrificing. I'm giving you my time. I'm giving you the authority to dictate how this day goes. I'm also feeling like I'm helping, giving her a skill to how to time manage, organize, and fit it all in.
And she's also going into her life, which is not the life as a parent you organized her life.
Right. And now I'm trying to give her tools
And
to
now
say,
it's her turn to organize her life.
I'm here for your support. You know, she came in and got a little bit just flustered. You know, she was already feeling the pressure. Like, I'm so sorry I made everybody wait. And so I just thought, okay, well, there's two views to look at it. How do I operate if I think that it's a sense of duty? I lay my time down and say, here, I'm submitting my time and my service to you. And however it goes, I don't have any expectation. But if I feel like if I'm operating under obligation, then I'm going to make you very aware it's an inconvenience to my time. I had to take off time from work today. I've got to rearrange my schedule. I've got to plan dinner ahead of time. I've got to figure out what time. I've got to figure out game plan. You know, I've got to do all of these things. So to me, that's being an obligation. So to me, that's being a victim. So I just feel like, I had wrote hero or warrior in victim mindset. And what do I see? I see a hero operating out of a sense of duty, or they're taking ownership and just being able to.
Yeah, but I wonder why obligation is a negative word in my world or in my mind.
I don't know. I'm just curious
Maybe-
to see, because it came out as a very negative word
Maybe
for
that's
me.
because of what expectations other people have on me versus duty is something I would do for I'm doing it, versus obligation I feel comes from the outside. And it may not be anything that I want to do, but now I'm obligated to do it.
Yes.
Versus if I say I'm doing it, it's coming from, maybe it's just the perspective change that makes me think a negative, there's a lot of times when I'm doing something that I said I do, I'm not feeling obligated because I said I would do them. I just, it's part of that promise thing, where if someone says you're obligated to do something, now I feel immediately like I don't want to do it. It's like the authority.
It creates a
In the
resistance
authority.
because I think it is a low vibrational word. And I think that if you are, so that's the thing that I'm trying to, in my mind, like, wait, I need to lay these words down because they don't serve me. If I can reframe it to say, what's a more positive way to say it? What's a more loving way to say it? Because the truth of the matter is, I do operate from that place. So I feel like that's one area where I did show up as a hero. Maybe for her, but I feel like I showed up for a hero for myself. I wasn't able to, I'm surrendering my day. So it is what it is. If we get stuck in traffic or it doesn't go quite that way, I'm saying I'm giving you my time. And that keeps me from having peace. I mean, that keeps me from, it keeps me keeping my peace. Instead of stealing my joy where I feel obligation, now I feel like, oh.
Right.
I'm not really surrendering my time. I'm really not surrendering myself to this experience, is how I feel about it. So anyway, I was.
Yeah, and I think when I think we have a lot of victimhood societally at this, maybe we always have had it, by words. I'm a victim because you said this, and I grew up a little bit, maybe more because I always read so many stories and there's a hero of the story all the time. But I remember when people finally found out about my mother's drug addiction, and they would say something about feeling bad for me, I would immediately think, but it's her drug addiction. I don't have drug addiction.
Right.
I'm not the victim. She's the victim of the drug addiction. Yes, the everything else. And I think over time, I had heard it so often, maybe I even changed to think that I was the victim of it. But because that was placed on me.
Yeah.
Instead of, it's her thing to overcome. She would need to be the hero in her story to overcome that.
Yes.
I have nothing to do with it. I'm
Right.
the witness.
Or collateral damage.
I'm collateral damage. Yes. Yes. My life, our family life was collateral damage to that. But and so many other people felt that victim was the right word for that. Victim of your circumstance, for example. And I'm trying to think of where if I'm not feeling strong, I could probably feel victims when I talk about society, and victim puts you in the role that you have no agency over your own.
You have no power.
Yes. And I don't ever like to think of myself that way.
Right.
I'm overestimating my abilities day and night.
I'm a victim. So I gave you an example of where I felt like I was being a hero for me, and it wasn't that I was doing some great thing. It was my mindset. It was my shift of saying, I'm going to do my best to honor and be helpful, and I'm going to be a faucet. I'm going to pour into this person instead of feeling like it's not about me. I'm losing. I'm laying down any kind of emotion that I have or expectation. I think that's where we get into we're disappointed.
Yeah, and I also think the expectation someone else has of us versus what we have of ourselves also has that duty line obligation. And I guess you could say I'm obligated to do this thing because I promised to do this thing. And now it does feel like a low vibrational word when I say it that way, where no, I promised. If I said I promised, it's a different word altogether.
Yes.
It's a different feeling.
There's so much power in words. And I wrote down, I was thinking about it and I just thought, I wrote down, choose your words wisely because one day we won't be here, but our words will speak. The words that we speak will be left, and we will leave that imprint. It will be in someone's soul. So I'm like, how do you want to go out of this world and be remembered?
And I don't think I think there are people who don't believe words matter.
I think words are very powerful.
I do too. And there are people who are like, who cares? There are only words. And there's sticks and stones might break my bones, but names and whatever the phrase. Why can't I think of the phrase?
Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That one?
Is that one? Is that it?
There is that.
I'm like, is that how the phrase goes? It seems like it should go that way.
We're going to go with
Anyways.
that.
And so I think that about name calling. Young kids or whatever, when someone, you're a loser.
Yeah.
That one.
Yeah.
I really hate that one.
Yes.
But in my head, it's just words. Just because you called me a loser doesn't mean I am a loser.
Well, I think in situations like that, that's deflection. When you're like, I'm not a loser. I mean, of course you're going to defend yourself because
Right.
you're feeling attacked and somebody calls you a name. But I think sometimes.
So what's really interesting is I've always disliked the name calling so much that when my friend, if you said, oh, I'm so stupid, I would say, don't call my friend stupid.
Yes. Yes.
Because you saying something nasty about yourself, I'm taking offense to it because you're my friend. I don't want anyone saying anything.
Yeah. And you've said that to me a few times. And
Yeah. I
it's
say that to
beautiful.
everybody.
Yeah.
Because don't say bad things about
it's like it's the holding up the sign to say, wait,
Yeah.
don't absorb this.
Yeah.
And I think that's our body's way of saying, rejecting this to me, like,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
And the way I say it is I say, don't say bad things about my Robin.
Yeah.
Because you're
And I
mine.
think it's a beautiful
You're my
way.
friend. I say that about my John. If John says something about himself, I say, don't say bad things about my John.
Yeah.
My friend Marilyn, don't say bad things about my Marilyn.
Right.
It's very, I can't handle even you saying something bad about you.
Yeah.
Let alone
Yeah.
if someone else said something bad about you.
Yes. Yes. I mean, it hurts my heart when I hear people that I love talk bad about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's,
And in that moment that you're not sticking up for yourself, you need someone to stick up for you.
yes. Yes. So I just wrote down some of the things in my mind that I think, like, here's what a hero or warrior mindset versus a victim. Duty, obligation. A hero would say, ask the question, how can I be in service? A victim mindset is how this is impacting me.
Mm-hmm.
how it's an inconvenience. A hero is taking ownership.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I own that. I'm sorry about that. I did this. A victim is it's blame.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wouldn't be here if it didn't, you caused me to say this. You said something that triggered me. No, that's just showing a lack of self-control, in my point, so anyway, inspired, or jealous is victim mindset.
What do you think the jealousy for victimhood?
Well, I think
Because I think that's I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about that when they talk about victimhood. And I think actually it probably simmers underneath unseen as a source of
well, I
victimhood.
feel like it's I feel like victimhood focuses on loss, pain, discomfort, suffering, retribution. It's draining. And also think that the mindset of where jealousy is. Let me see if I might have made a note in my phone. It focuses on like they're jealous of someone else's success.
Yes.
Whereas a hero will be inspired by it.
Yes. So that's why I wanted you to stop there for a second, because I've never heard anyone put those two together. And when I think about society and it's not fair, or they're not doing this for me, or whatever, I wonder how much is this underlying jealousy of why do they get that? Who do you think you are? That
Right.
goes back to that. Who do you think you are?
What I think is that I get to write my own path, and really, and maybe that sounds very shallow and very simple. I think there's a difference. I think there's just a very thin line between the difference of a victim and a warrior, or a hero. It's saying that I can be, I choose to be.
So despite whatever, so what I like about the hero versus the victim is, well, who wants to be a victim? Stupid, yucky. I
Right.
don't like that, right? So
But
I want to be the
we
hero.
always say that, like even just driving down the road and you're listening to it, well, I'm not a victim.
Right.
Well, think about situations where you're in the car.
Right.
So here's an example, and I'll be vulnerable. The other day, we weren't getting along. I mean, no argument or anything, but just there was,
Tension.
I'm not liking you right now, and you're not liking me right now, and like, so we're just
You're
there's some
being
energy.
less than your cherub-like self?
Yes.
How could that be? I don't believe it. I'm
Well,
not.
I forgot
okay.
my halo.
Oh.
I
The
left
wings.
it in the
you
car.
left- the wings were home.
But I was actually putting laundry away, and I was just grumbling, and he'd said something to me, and I was like, "Rah, rah, rah." Well, guess what? I'm not doing your laundry. And so I literally take them out of the dryer, and I'm folding my clothes and putting them in the basket, and I have his all piled up right there on the rug right there, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing it. Then I couldn't stop myself. So then I pick it up. And then this is where I'm being a victim. This was where I was being a victim. And like, I'm not doing it. All right, well, then I'll bring it upstairs. So I scoop them all up. And I literally temper tantrum. I'm being immature. I'm in my bad feelings. I literally scoop them up and throw them on the floor on his side of the closet and be like, there, go put your own laundry away. So I put all of my laundry away, and my little perfection, I tuck my basket in, and so it's all perfect. And then I just look over there, and I'm like, you know what?
I can't.
Who am I choosing to be right now? I
Yeah.
stop myself in the track. I stop myself, and I'm like, no, if I do that, I'm not being a hero in my own story. I'm choosing to surrender to the bad and negative emotions. And you know what? I'm allowing our feelings to dictate who I am. And I don't want to be that person. I'm going to be in service, and I'm going to give my gift, and I'm going to love on people, even if you don't like me, and even if you don't matter. So it wasn't about our argument, and it wasn't about Chris. It was about me standing in the closet and saying, you know what? I'm going to be my own hero. Whether he ever knows that or not, it doesn't matter, because that was me being a victim. And I'm like, no, that's not who I want to be in life. That's not how I want to show up. And if he walks in the closet and sees that, I'm only going to add more fuel to the fire. And you know what? I don't ever want to be that person. I don't want to be that person for him or for my family or the people that I love. But more importantly, I don't want to be that person for me. I don't want to be that person for me. And that's what stopped me in the tracks, standing in the closet that morning. And what's funny is we get in the car and he's listening to this audiobook. And the book is Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting. And she's talking about the exact same things that I'm listening to. She's talking about how everything is energy. And she's talking about...
you want to hear something cool? I've been listening to the sound medicine book.
Yes.
And they're talking about sound, in waves and how it has an energy to it and all of this other stuff. So thanks to all of the peeping Tom my phone does, because I have sound medicine on Audible, all my Instagram is now these quantum physicists talking about sound. And this one came through that the periodic, I think he's a quantum physicist, because now all of a sudden let me tell you that quantum physics hurts my brain.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Quantum physics hurts my brain. And sometimes I'll watch a podcast where they're talking about quantum physics or they're talking about space, not just like some space, but deep space. And the other day, or I think it was last night, I watched it and he's like, it's an exoplanet, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I have to look up exoplanet. What's an exoplanet? Right. So when I say I really have to pay attention,
Yes.
my mind has to be really open because this is not something that comes naturally to me.
Yes.
When I think about light years, we are seeing a star that has already burnt out because it takes 250,000.
It's hard to put your mind around.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So this guy is talking about, so I'm not purposefully seeking out quantum physics. Sometimes I am, but not on my Instagram.
I do find it interesting, and I can only do it in little doses because then I'm like, wait, I don't know what that means. Blah, 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 blah.
Right.
But
I'm going to go
I
down
do
a
believe
rabbit
in
hole.
it.
Yes. I'm going to go down a rabbit hole. But anyways, so this guy was talking about how the periodic table is incorrectly
Assembled.
It should be a circle.
Oh.
Because
yeah.
the vibrational frequency of hydrogen is the same as carbon. And then he made it a wheel. And then he was talking about how certain chemicals are C on a note. And then and then all of these different things came into my feed. And I was like, but this is all energy. And just in different forms.
Yes.
And we talk about energy on the show all the time. Because when I was growing up, I didn't use the word vibes, or vibration.
Yeah, I didn't either.
But I knew it and I felt it and I operated within it without ever giving it a language.
Yes.
And that was one thing that I loved about feng shui is how you could go into a room and not like being there and not knowing why. Once I read a book about feng shui, I became a real estate agent and I said, it was fascinating to me. There were two properties on the market. One was I can't remember how many thousands, $25,000 more than this one. And the one that was $25,000 more was adorable. It just was perfectly decorated. It had live plants. However, it was a less auspicious location within the complex. And here you had this other one that was completely empty, better location, but everybody wanted the one that was more money because it was decorated. And so I started going through feng shui and interior design to learn and have a language around what we were all feeling.
Right.
So when we talk about these books and when we're talking about this, it's kind of trying to put a language to feelings.
Yeah, it's trying to get that aha moment. There's so much. Well, we talked about it last time, about freezing ice and speaking, freezing water and speaking the word and writing it on the label and seeing what ice crystals form. It's talking about, they do plant studies about different types of music and how it reacts to it. So it's not, they don't have ears. Flowers don't have ears. It's energy that's transferred. It's like the example I gave about when you're in a stadium and you're singing the national anthem as a unit. And I don't know about you. Every single time I do it, I get teary. I feel emotional. My lip quivers. I've got goosebumps, because that vibration, everybody in that stadium, is creating that massive amount of energy That's a transference of energy.
Yeah,
that
and
is
it's all
magic.
and it's all focused on the same thing.
Yes.
Which is being patriotic in the moment.
Right. And so like you can't sit here and tell me that what our mindset has no impact on us. Our words have no meaning. Look at what we can do. Like that's just these are simple indicators. Decorating the house and somebody walks in and like, "Oh my gosh, I love this space." They don't even know why, because it makes them feel good. It's energy. It's transference of energy. So she was saying in this book, so I get in the car and he's halfway through the book, and my takeaway is her premise is that the emotions are not merely passive reactions to life events, but they are active forces capable of shaping our reality. She talks about our feelings serve. So we always talk about how our feelings are not important. She talks about feelings are everything because feelings are your energy. It's how, so she talks about our feelings that serve as key drivers in the process of attraction, exerting a magnetic pull, the energy that draws experiences and outcomes into our lives. So whatever energy that we're vibrating on is the energy. So how we feel about something is going to dictate our experience. And our experience dictates our reality. So our feelings dictate our reality.
Our feelings dictate our reality.
Right. So me putting the laundry away.
Right.
Like I'm in my feelings. I'm in my
Right, because
feelings.
you could be in a
feeling,
beautiful location you could be in a beautiful location on vacation. Everything is supposed to be perfect. You're paying $1,500 a night for a perfect night in some bougie place.
Yes.
And if you're in a bad mood, that vacation's not great.
Right.
That's your reality.
Right.
Your vacation is not great.
Right.
Even though you've paid and you've set up everything to be great.
Yes. Yes. You know, you plan this wonderful romantic, you've got the dress all picked out and, you're in this magical place and supposed to be creating this in our feelings because we're fighting or we're upset or we're feeling whatever negative feelings that we're carrying around. It's dictating our reality.
All right. So I have a question for you. We have 11 minutes before we go to the top of the hour.
Wow, that was quick.
When you're fearful, say you're going to do something you want to do. You're going to bungee jump off the side of a cliff and you're fearful. Right? That's energy.
Yes.
That isn't a certain energy. What do you think is the mechanism that turns the energy, the feared energy, that overcoming it to actually do the thing, to take the jump? Because I've done various things. I've not bungee jumped off a cliff because I won't be yanked back. That's the part I don't like. I will not bungee jump because I don't want to fall and then be pulled back. There's something about that.
I don't feel like I want to be whipped back up.
I don't want to be whipped back. However, if you said jump
Hang
off
glide.
this cliff and fall into the ocean and, you won't, we promise you won't crash your head or whatever. And doing that, the fear, because there's the logical part to the fear. We all have a fear of edges so we don't fall off things to our
right.
death.
Yes. So from what I'm learning is, I used to think when I first started this, I kept thinking like, oh, ego's bad, ego's bad, ego's bad. No, ego's not bad. Ego is there to protect us. Fear is not fear is in itself it's a protection mode. It's a resistance.
Right,
It's
good.
an outside force saying, hey, wait,
Precaution
it's
ahead.
checking you. Yes, it's checking you. So it also, ego also gives you the courage to do the things that we're scared to do. It's where I had a negative thing until I learned a new word. It's our wounded ego that operates from in low vibration. It's the insecurity. It's the low self-worth. It's the jealousy. It's the revenge. It's the, retaliation. It's all of those feelings. That's your wounded ego. That's speaking to a trauma. So I think what happens, so to answer your question, I think the answer is choice. I think we finally choose.
To be brave and
Yes.
do the thing we're afraid
Yes.
of and to do it anyways.
Yes.
Hold the fear. First of evaluate the risk associated with the fear. Should I be afraid? And then, okay, I'm afraid, but I'm going to do it anyways.
Well,
and that's the overcoming. That's
yes.
the hero.
Yes, yes. So I feel like we're constantly, regardless of whether we know it or not, we're constantly choosing, am I going to be a warrior today or am I going to be a victim today? And a lot of times, that's funny. Well,
So I love there's a movie, Nim's Island. It's a children's movie.
oh, yes.
Do you remember Nim's Island? There's
Yeah.
a Gerard Butler plays the dad, and I forget the actress that plays the little girl, and they live on an island, and the mom passes away. She was an oceanographer, so it's her story. She's telling her story, and because she reads Alex Rover, so they get books to the island, when they get their groceries or whatever else that come, and so she reads these very heroic stories, and the line in the book, the Alex Rover book, is, I am the hero of my own story.
Yeah.
Because every time he has to face something, the pit of snakes or whatever, I'm the hero of my own story. And so that little girl, uses it. But the writer is an agoraphobe who lives in her house and doesn't even go to the store to get hand sanitizer. And so the point of the movie is that this writer is communicating, because she's stuck in her book. She's got writer's block. And she reads an article about the dad, and he says living in the shadow of a volcano. And so she's conversing with him, and she finds out that the little girl is on the island by herself. Her father went out and he's missing. So the writer, who's the agoraphobe, has to be the person in her book. It's a great story. It's a great movie.
Yes, I got to watch it again.
There is
That
a
such
scene where so it's Jodie Foster is the writer, and she's hilarious in it. And Gerard Butler is not only the dad, but he plays the character in the book that's the hero. So he's like, we're going out on an adventure. We're going to go rescue this little girl. And she's still standing in the doorway. And he's like, come on.
She's like,
Like,
what?
we're going. And she's like, it's not sanitary out there. 'Cause she's an agoraphobe. But it's such a great little thing. And then when you were talking about hero, that little story always pops to my mind, because there are 3 different characters in there, and they are the heroes of their own story. And I think the part about victimhood that is so difficult is you think someone else needs to rescue you.
Yes.
You are always the hero in your own
Yes.
story.
So while this relates to people in our life, or like, so I'm showing up so really, to take it down to a singularity for me, the battle is always in ourselves, because
Yes.
everything starts from within. We can't be a hero to someone else unless we're our own hero first. And that was my moment in the closet of like, how am I showing up? How am I showing up? Because I can't be anybody else's hero if I can't be my own first. And that's what I was, that's the thing that motivates me and drives me. And now that I have that thought in my head, I can't unthink it. And so every time I'm at a crossroads, jumping off the cliff, bungee jumping. By the way, I think we should get the squirrel suits.
Oh, yes. I would do the squirrel suits
The flying
before I
squirrel
did.
suits.
There's something really frightening about the bungee piece for
Yes.
some. And I don't know. Someone would say you're more likely to drop to your death, in the squirrel suit,
Yeah.
or hang gliding. But to me, I don't know if it's rational or not, but it's the ripping back up that I can't handle.
Yeah.
There is in Florida. There is this sort of swing. They pull you up, and then they drop you, and you swing forward, and then you swing back.
Yeah, I don't like those. I also don't like the ones
And my
that...
spouse was like, "Are we doing this?" And I'm like, in my head, we're doing it. We're not doing it. So every day we would go and look at it. Are we doing it? No, we're not doing that, because I don't want to be pulled back.
Yes. I don't
like
like
that.
actually, even when we're tubing or sledding and stuff, I don't like when I get turned backwards and I'm going down the mountain back first. I'm
Yes.
like, no, that freaks me out. I also don't like to be chased.
You don't like to be chased?
No, well, it's not like we used to play tag and stuff, but that adrenaline and that
Yes.
heart pumping, even when I know, like the kids and I were playing tag in the yard, it's something about that panic inside of me being chased. It's like my
Did
heart
you used
is
to let yourself
racing.
get caught? My nephews because I was just with my nephew for 3 days, and it was, will you chase us? Will you chase
Yes.
us? Will you chase us? Tag your it, chase us. And then sometimes I think they just want to be caught.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
catch me and love me and
Yes,
release
and
me.
it's still that, and still even then, it's that moment you know you're going to get caught, and it's still that moment of anticipation that's like, I still feel that.
Yeah.
So it's just I think it's being caught off guard or feeling vulnerable,
Yes.
and you don't know when it's going to come.
Yes.
And there are definitely times where I'm like, yeah, in a situation where like, yeah, in theory that looks good, but I know I'll never do that.
Yeah.
I don't have the courage to fight that battle to say, I'll be a victim on that one.
Right. Right. Yeah. I'm fine
I can
with
live
that.
the rest of my life not knowing if I'm brave or not to jump off that and do that bungee.
Right. And there's the part of me that if I'm doing something that I'm really scared, I don't want to be the last one in the line to do it because I will talk myself out of it.
Yes.
I have to be all in pretty quickly. I don't want to be the first one because I have to see what has to be done.
I think like 5 in.
I'm second. If
I say I
can
don't want to be
then
second.
I'm great.
I don't want to be second because then I'm like, okay, they did it.
Because if I see
And
someone
see 'em
fail
land.
at the
Oh,
thing,
that's true. That's true.
I don't-
So I was thinking like 5 in.
okay, and
But
I'll be
5
second
could
in.
give you-
Good, we won't be the same space. We won't be in the same place in line.
I could be maybe third. I'll be behind you. Like,
Okay,
and
perfect.
if she did it, then if she freaks out, so I'll be third.
You'll be third. Perfect. I'm second, you're third. Someone else has to be first.
Who's on first? I don't know. It's not my job. Already claimed my spot for third.
Yeah, but I know I learned that about myself, that if I'm doing something that I'm really terrified to do, you can't let me get in my own head. I have
Yes.
to kind of be psyching myself up, but if the line is too long, I have psyched myself
Yes.
right out of it.
Yes. Then I'm like, yeah, it's not really worth it. I don't want to do that either. And so
I'm not getting paid for this. This is silly.
Yes.
That's how I start
Yes.
thinking. Like, well, I'm not getting paid.
And sometimes I've even said, how in the world is this possibly going to expand my life? How is this possibly going to make my life better?
And I do think you prove something to yourself.
Yes. Yes. And some of those are and it's okay. Like some of those are things that I don't feel like I need to prove myself to that.
I don't need to prove myself bungee
So.
jumping,
Yes.
personally.
Yes.
But hand gliding, I do think is interesting.
Oh, we've hang glided in North Carolina at the Outer Banks. That was cool. They take you up.
Are you with someone, or are you required
Well,
to
so-
do it by yourself?
You can do it by yourself, but we chose to do it with a tandem. So we had the guide, and I'm below, so I get the feeling of I am by myself. I just have to. I don't have to do the controls or anything. But they take you a mile up. They take your little hang glider. They take you up on a string, and then they just release you. And it was like a mile or 2 miles up. I mean, it was definitely chillier.
Here it's so many degrees per every 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
It is 3 degrees colder.
And
you
so
get-
it was, and we were way up there, and I was like, oh, Lord, I mean, we're in it now. Like,
I have to get
I'm in
down.
it. yes. And I'm like, oh, Lord, just please, I got this safety. I'm going to be safe.
But then
I'm
once
gonna
you
be
were released, did you enjoy it?
It took me a few minutes to being like, just to calm my body and like, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah.
And it's such a surreal feeling. And then you're like, because there's nothing below you.
Yeah.
And you don't really feel like there's so much adrenaline and there's so much emotion going through it. You don't feel that you're tethered. You don't feel those things. And my guy was super cool. And like once I got used to it, and he's like, you're going to do fine. This is what we're going to do. He was low, calm voice. And because, I'm breathing heavy, and I was like, oh boy. And he's like, you got this. And so when I finally got to the place where I come, and he's like, hey, do you want me to waggle my wings a little bit? You want to just see some tricks? And I'm like, well, I don't want to do any flips. I'm like, so what's the first baby trick you've got? So he kind of dipped us a little bit, and he's like, you want to try a little more? And so he was so cool about just, okay. I'm like, I could do that.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Lisa and Robin on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM, and on WSMN.live. Stay tuned. We'll be back at the top of the hour.
Side as well. ABC News political director Rick Klein has more on Biden's head-to-head matchup with Donald Trump.
The numbers are within the margin of error. They're very small, but we do see Kamala Harris with a small edge over Donald Trump. Again, Biden was down 1. We have Harris up 3. That is a hypothetical matchup. Nothing is happening right now because it can only happen if Biden steps away. We asked Democrats who should run instead if Biden steps aside. The only answer that we saw any significant number for was Kamala Harris. Almost a third of Democrats named Harris.
We have just found out that at least one person has died in and flooding in Vermont brought about by the remnants of Hurricane Beryl. Inflation in the United States cooling in June for a third straight month, according to new numbers released today by the Commerce Department. This is ABC News. On the ground in Gaza, orders from the Israeli military for hundreds of thousands of Palestinians to evacuate Gaza City as the IDF steps up its attacks there once again. When it comes to talks over a potential ceasefire,
cautious optimism here in Jerusalem after the U.S.-led talks on a Gaza ceasefire in Doha. Sources close to the talks telling ABC News progress was made on the outline of the framework, but hammering out some critical details still lies ahead. Those include which jailed Palestinians Israel will release, the Israeli army's redeployment, and what an interim government in post-war Gaza will look like. Jordana Miller, ABC News, Jerusalem.
And a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Library of Congress for novelist James McBride. Some of his works include The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store and The Good Lord Bird. McBride in a statement joked, "Does that mean I can use the library? If so, I'm thrilled." I'm Sherry Preston, ABC News.
My wife and I both, we ended up mildly sick for a few months, and the nasal congestion was probably the worst part. I had like a post-nasal drip, just super congested all the time. We were taking everything we possibly could, but nothing really worked.
Kyrie was miserable until a friend recommended Navage. Navage offers immediate drug-free congestion relief, flushing your nasal passages with refreshing saline and sucking out mucus, germs, and other airborne irritants. Don't live in misery this cold season. Use Navage so you can breathe easier, sleep better, and feel your best right away.
The biggest thing Navage has done has completely cleaned out my nasal passages. It was from the first use. I was able to just clear out anything that was stopping me from breathing correctly. Navage helps me clear the way, literally clear the way, for me to operate better in the rest of my life.
Experience the Navage difference yourself. Navage is available at Navage.com or at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E.
I am Elena Dries, nurse practitioner at Altrix Primary Care, located right here in Nashua, New Hampshire at 57 Northeastern Boulevard. At Altrix Primary Care, we are dedicated expert nurse practitioners who provide high-quality, comprehensive primary care services for people of all ages, from newborns to older adults. Our nursing model of care is distinctive because it's unhurried, high-personalized, easily accessible healthcare for you and your family. Visit us online at altrixpc.com/Nashua or give us a call at 603-821-4009. That is 603-821-4009. Altrix Primary Care, changing the future of primary care for you and your family.
Have you tried to quit drinking before, and much to your surprise and dismay, you couldn't? Have you tried therapy, meetings, and treatment programs, but still can't seem to stay stopped? Or maybe you live in fear that you'll lose your job, your home, or your family, and much more if you don't get this figured out, and soon. Well, there is hope. My name is Bill Nielsen, and I'm the founder of Nascent 24 Recovery and Life Coaching, and I struggled for over a decade. Yup, 10 years, trying to get it right. I lost jobs, 5 six-figure jobs in fact, homes, friends, relationships. I thought I'd never get off the merry-go-round or the roller coaster, but I did, and I've developed a proven proprietary process that works. Why does it work? Because it addresses the root cause and not the symptoms. No more Band-Aids on bullet wounds. It's a 12-week journey that will transform your entire life, not just the drinking thing. I work one-on-one with every single client, and your privacy and anonymity are paramount. The great part is that you don't have to leave your home, your job, or your family. Text me the word recovery to 203-241-1266. That's 203-241-1266. Or visit my website, nascent24.com, NASCENT24.com. There is a solution. Take the first step. You won't regret it.
Hi Nashua, I'm Perry Cataldo from Choice Benefit Services, your local insurance agent that has dedicated himself to all the Medicare plans in New Hampshire. Whether you're just turning 65, new to Medicare, or already have a plan, I'll explain all your Medicare options and extra benefits that you hear so much about. I ensure you're getting all you're entitled to and all that you deserve. Nashua, don't get fooled again this year. Call Perry Cataldo at 603-461-5550. That's 603-461-5550. 888-881-5550. Or visit me online at cbsnh.com. That's cbsnh.com. I look forward to hearing from you. And remember, health is wealth.
Are you wondering, how can my business expand its reach? Or how can I support music and arts in my community? Well, I'm glad you asked. My name is Cody, and I'm from the Nashville Community Music School, and I'm here to talk about all the wonderful opportunities to partner with us. Whether you want to become a VIP table sponsor of our biggest concert event of the year, Play It Forward, or by joining our band of donors by donating only $5 a month, we'd love to be able to speak with you and show how we can partner to make music accessible to all. Give us a call at 603-881-7030 or shoot us an email at info@nashuacms.org.
Are you or your loved ones in need of compassionate care in the comfort of your own home? Look no further than Heaven Sent Home Care. Heaven Sent knows the importance of personalized care tailored to your unique needs. Whether it is assistance with daily activities, medication management, or specialized medical care, our compassionate caregivers are ready to provide the highest quality of in-home care. The services provided by Heaven Sent Home Care extend beyond physical care. They also offer companionship, ensuring that you or your loved ones have someone to share stories, laughters, and meaningful moments with. Experience the peace of mind that comes with knowing your loved ones are in capable hands. Or visit us online at heavensenthomecarellc.com to schedule a consultation and learn more about the comprehensive range of services provided. Heaven Sent Home Care, where care and compassion come together.
The views and opinions of the following show do not reflect those of WSMN, its owners, and/or associates.
Lisa and Robin are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robin, on the mic.
Welcome to Lisa and Robin on the mic. You are listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live as well as Facebook and YouTube. I was listening to an interview with Ivanka Trump. With Lex Friedman. And I didn't get to listen to the whole thing. I think it was almost 2 hours, but I wanted to hear, because she used to have a fashion line that she doesn't have anymore. So
how come?
I don't know. And I thought I was going to learn that in the interview. Because they break up the interview into segments, and this one said fashion. So I listened to that one, and it talked about it. I think she just has a lot going on. But she had really good clothes, and they were affordable. She had really good shoes.
Gosh. Well, I do remember, like, when he was doing... What's that? You're Fired show.
Apprentice.
Yeah, she had her... Yes, The Apprentice. I think she had her line then.
Yes, and I think she wore her clothes on the show.
Yes.
But I was thinking, how do we... Because there's this part of me that wants to do something with fashion. I don't know if it's designing the clothes. I have no idea. I have no idea where it lies, but I have had this in my world for so long. I want it to be an outlet in some capacity. So I saw that interview and I saw the fashion piece, so I was listening. But it didn't talk about why she doesn't have the line anymore. I'm assuming it's because she's busy. I think it was profitable. But what I thought was interesting was he asked her, with so much going on in your life, children, small children, this, and this, how do you keep work-life balance? And she said that she always never liked that question. And she said a better question would be, am I living my life in accordance with my priorities? And I'm like, ooh, wow, that's a completely different question. Because the work-life balance, and this is what she said, which I found to be so true. My work life can be balanced right up until a child has a fever. Then my balance is off.
Yes.
My work-life balance is fine right up until a deadline at work, and now my home life is off. So there's no way to keep balance, and the fact that we all ask the same question that gives us the same results of which we have no work-life balance.
Do we have harmony?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
a better word.
I love the word harmony.
Because balance is, it's balance suggests that everything always has to be equal.
Yes.
But that means even if you have something bad, I don't like the fact, because life is never going to be equal. It's not ever going to be.
And I never feel like anything was balanced. I always feel like it's plates spinning and one's always wobbling while the other one's spinning correct. And then when you get the wobbly one back on track, the other one that was spinning straight starts wobbling.
Yes.
And I always feel like it's this chaotic, frantic, you're going to fail, one of the plates is going to drop. It always has that impending doom.
So that needs to be a topic.
Yeah.
I got to write that down real quick because I think we should do that. Balance, because I was listening to something on the way over here that's pretty powerful about money, and I'm like, do I really want to go down? Do I want to go down that trail? Because we still have some good stuff.
Yeah. I don't want to go off track, but
balance versus harmony.
And then her question was that she didn't like work-life balance question at all. She liked, am I living in accordance with my priorities? Because your priorities are always changing too.
Yeah.
Small children versus adult children.
Am I living my best life?
I don't know. I don't like that question either.
Asking ourselves every day, am I living my best life? Well, so yeah.
And you know why I think I'm bristling to that one is there's so much stuff that has to be done that just has to be done. It's the underlying work of everything. And do I feel like that is all that underlying work, the best life or the best life would be?
Well, I was going to say, when you look back and you're like, well, I don't know if I like that because, we have so many obligations.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say, no, we have so many responsibilities. Mm-hmm. We've taken these on. And a lot of times, so what just to touch a little bit what I was talking about, hearing about money, what's our mindset about money? Most people, we make money to support our lifestyle. It's a tool in order to live the life that we want. And sometimes we kind of get lost in money defines us, our wealth defines us. Anyway, I don't want to do that.
Okay, we're not going.
But yeah, because I think we have another whole thing, and in the back of my mind, I was just trying to.
When we were talking about hero and victim, the reason why I like the hero of my own story when I was talking about Nims Island is life always gives us things to overcome.
Yes.
No one's life is not without that.
Yes.
And even in that interview with Ivanka Trump, she's a beautiful, well-spoken woman. She has everything at her disposal. And what she had said was, when money's not an object, you have two really successful parents and money isn't an object. What becomes the thing to overcome is if you have two successful parents, how is it that you are successful as well? Because you are always in comparison with two really successful people. And she said that's one of the challenges that happens to people who have really successful parents is the kids become nothing because the parents are successful. And so they're never going to compete with that. So they don't even try. They don't find something to be successful in that they like and enjoy. And we think we want our children to have everything.
Yes.
But when you give your children everything, a lot of people whose children are a mess who have everything. And I wonder if it's because they don't understand what they have to overcome or they haven't had lots of practice overcoming lots of things because their life is considered to be easy because they have money at their disposal.
Yeah.
Just because you have money doesn't mean you won't have obstacles.
Right.
It's just, and I also think that when you have no money and you get money, then the fear is you're going to lose the money and be where you were before.
Yes.
So you're trying to hold the money. Once you figure out how to make the money, then it's holding the money.
Well, so one of the things that Nick had said to me the other day that money is energy. I'm trying to find my little note that I made about it. about mindset around your money. Money, we make money to assist us, to not complete us. And a lot of times we get that mixed up because we think that, well, if we're coming from a lack-minded mentality, then it's not enough, and we're going to be burdened down. We're going to be burdened to it, and we're using that. We're seeing that is, well, if I just have more money of it, then I'll be happy, or if I'll have this. It's not. No, money is a tool. It's energy in order to help to assist us in living the life that we create. And sometimes it doesn't have to be like, it doesn't have to be a big, I want to travel the world and, I want to wear designer clothes and I want to buy a private jet. It doesn't have to be about those things. It's like, it can be just about, I want a beautiful home. I want a happy family. I want to travel and I want to have experiences. It doesn't have to be all those things. I don't want to live in a place where I work just for the weekends. And then I blow all my money in making a poor decision because I get 2 days of free time. Mm-hmm. And so our goal with money, if we can reframe our mindset around it, like it's assisting us to give us the life that we're trying to create. It's not going to complete us. It's not going to make us a better human being. Because if you're not generous and have a healthy respect of your money when you have no money, it's not going to make you a better person when you have more money. It's just not. That's how I feel about it. And I was like, that's interesting to say. I like being able to, one of the most freeing things to me about money, I know that I had some trauma around money and a very lack-minded mindset about it. And I can look back and say, here was my mindset at that time, and I'm attracting bad outcomes with money. I'm creating situations, or I'm bad situations or negative situations of the lack of money are coming to me. I want to stop operating in that place. Just that one simple one when we're in Texas in the middle of a snowstorm and, it's an ice storm. So nobody's out on the road. We had just flown in, stopped at a pizza joint, single mom. We ended up giving her $100 tip and operating from that place. And it was never like, as a blessing, did I really have it to be? Am I that financially secure that I can just throw $100 here and $100? No, I'm not. But I felt like that was the right thing to do. And I'm fortunate that I'm in a place that I can give a gift to somebody. The very next day, we're walking in the Dallas Mall. I look down and there's a crisp $100 bill, and there is nobody around. Things like that happen all the time. But so when I'm coming from a place of abundance, I'm not worrying about how I'm going to get it back. All I'm worried about is blessing this person. And so I started slowly trying to change my energy and my vibration about money and saying that I am somebody worthy of attracting money, in that I don't think it's greedy, and I don't think it's self-centered to say I deserve the life that I want. I deserve to have money in my life. I think everybody should adopt that mindset. It doesn't mean you have to be greedy with it, but I know that I'm willing to do the work to earn it. I know that I'm willing to work hard and put myself in a spot to attract it to me. So why wouldn't I be deserving of it? And that's not, I don't feel like that's egotistical. I think it's just, that's what I'm trying to change my mindset about it and saying that who is it? Who is telling me that I'm not worthy of having 5 vacations a year, or I'm not worthy of having money, that I'm not worthy of living in a house that I want, going on vacation I want, or having the amount of money in the bank I want? Who is telling me that? And if we get really, really quiet, I think the answer is us.
What else do you think that we are telling ourselves that hold us back?
Well, self-worth.
I think so much boils down to we're not good enough.
Yeah, we see
And
other
how
people.
much do you think? So I saw an ad where a man was sitting talking about how he's a young man too. I'm considering Botox because whatever. And I thought, God, sometimes I have priorities. You're a 30-year-old dude.
Right.
Who doesn't have wrinkles. Relax.
Right.
But I also feel that way about 30-year-old women. You don't have to spend money on that right now. We have other problems. And I know that the idea is, but you're preventing the wrinkles from happening but that's not true because you have to chase the Botox. You have to keep adding Botox.
Yes.
To chase the fact that you're not wrinkling.
Yes. And then
so
you
I
look
think
like
they
Joan Rivers at like.
Well, she's had the pull.
And she's had a lot of stuff, and like, who's the one? The lips, and like, all of a sudden, that collagen, like, you thought it disappeared, so I got to go get more collagen. All of a sudden, you're like 70, and it all shows back up, and you look like what's the guy?
Filler. Oh.
No. On Saul. The clown. The clown has how he's got those really exaggerated cheekbones. Dude, that's what it shows back up all of a sudden. Like, you might be hiding in your bum cheek for a while, but then all of a sudden you turn 70 and you're like, whoop,
it shows up underneath your eye.
Right up on those cheekbones, man, or that big brow.
And I'm not criticizing Botox. I'm really not. And I'm not criticizing anyone who does Botox. I was just thinking, you're not even at the right place to be worried about that yet.
Right.
You need to worry about prioritize other things.
That's how I'm like, you're 30. Talk to me when you have the WTF lines that deep. Then we'll talk Botox. I'm not against Botox either, but I'm at a point now where I feel like this is the age that we should be considering it.
Yes, this is the time when we
Not
should
22.
be considering it. Not 22, not 30. Because you're really not preventing anything because it still shows up. Because if you don't keep it every however often you have to get
Just like a baby. You just got your first little crinkle on your eye, Just a newbie.
Right. And what I was thinking about is I was thinking about when someone had said, you should talk about this on your show because let me back up. Someone has said, but we should talk about the fact that college is so expensive and so many things are so expensive. We should talk about that on show. Like, what are our solutions? And part of me thinks that every parent generation does not have the answer to their child's problems because the life that existed when the parent had a problem, they had different problems.
Yes.
So asking a 52-year-old to solve a 22-year-old's problem is impossible because if we knew the answer to their problem, it wouldn't be a problem. We would have solved it.
Right. We've already put you on the path.
And that's kind of how I got into this whole, and then this 30-year-old guy with no wrinkles is worried about his Botox. And I'm like, he needs to be worried about, he's closer to the 22-year-old's problem.
Yes.
Don't,
You should be looking for adequate housing, investing, setting up your retirement plan.
And then pay for Botox with that.
Right. Creating residual income and then talk about
you
Botox.
do your Botox.
Yes. So I think we have a lot to say about money. That should be its own show. The one thing...
And I think we need to talk about credit when we talk about money.
Oh, yes.
Because my parents didn't buy a refrigerator on credit. They bought it cash. And then I show up in college and there are tables from Capital One and Citibank. Here's a credit card. I don't have a job. Why would you possibly give me a credit card? And then no instructions on how to manage credit before we're even earning income. So I think we need to talk about, and there's a gentleman who helps people fix credit for really an affordable amount. We should have him on the show. When we talk about money.
Yes. I know a guy too.
I wonder if it's the same guy. Is it Chad?
No.
Okay.
He's in New York.
Oh, okay.
I think it's Jose.
Okay. Chad's local. We could have him on.
So the one thing that that just sparked a thing into me, about self-worth, and we're talking about college and like, our mindset and having a 20-year-old, we have a different understanding, or we don't have the same relatability. So, we're not fixing the problem. It just reminded me of something that you had said last week or the week before. If we see ourselves as beginners it lets go of a lot of ego. And like, I don't know what we don't know. I can't tell you how many times I've said to my own children, hey, I'm a beginner at that. I've never had a 22-year-old before. I've never had an 18-year-old before. I'm learning as you go. And I screenshotted a picture. I had posted a memory of Chris and I doing something silly, and Kayla's comment was, it's so fun being able to watch you grow up too. Because I just said, we're kids, like, we're just trying to figure it out too. Like, I've never done this before. This is my first time, and I have said to both of them, looking back, I was 22 when I got married. I was 28 when I had kids. My kids are watching me grow up. And she said, it's been beautiful watching you grow up. And I thought, like, that's so beautiful that a young woman can see,
Well, and that she gives you the grace, because what I am always concerned about is, I joke around that I shouldn't call my mother mom and dad, because it is infused with too many emotions of what a mother and father is supposed to be, and not what they actually are, which is flawed human beings who are figuring this out as they go, either well or not well.
Yeah. And
so they should be called Priscilla and Sal. Because you don't have, because if you say my mother did this, it's like, oh God. If you said Priscilla did this, you're like, well, you immediately justify some stuff for her and whatever.
Yes.
Because you're a person.
Yes.
You have a name.
Yes.
But when you say mom.
Yes.
It's this like huge, Mother Teresa, sunlight shining down, bosom of comfort and love. And, and it's like,
we'll solve all the world's problems.
Yes, and that's not it. Same thing with dads,
Yes.
And I think it's awesome that you have a child that understands mom is also Robin.
Yeah, it's just, I'm not perfect.
And that she doesn't saddle you with that. And that allows her to have so much grace.
Well, I do sometimes think that they'd think I'm, I do still think that my kids are human, and they do think that, like, oh, wow, she's not perfect. And that's a disappointment. But, here we are. I mean, that's real. That's his life. So
I said to my nephews are in the iPad stage.
Yes.
And I hate the iPad, because I was the apple of my nephew's eye. When they'd see me, their whole face would light up. Now their face is in their iPad, and I show up, and they don't even give me a facial acknowledgement. I have to put my foot on the iPad because it's always on the floor.
Yes, because now they see you as a drain. You're taking something away.
You're taking away my iPad, aren't you?
Whereas before, you're like, oh my gosh, she's going to give me so much energy, and we're going to do all of these things.
We're doing so much fun things.
Yes.
Now it's, can I be on my iPad? Right. So
I don't like outside.
We're in the truck, and I'm not even letting them use the iPad in the truck, because we're with Auntie right now, and we have 3 days. That's it. That's all we're going to have until the next time I see you. It's a very important time. I have so much planned for you. We're not doing iPad stuff, right? So, and they're immediately, but we can have the iPad in the car.
I mean, take a book.
Yeah, right. So I said to them in the car, they're doing the iPad thing, and I said to them, because they're 4 and 5, they completely understand. Because I remember being 5. I remember being 5, right? They're just people. They're just shorter. They might not have the same vocabulary, but they're people. So I said to them, I have very limited time with you. I don't have every single week with you anymore. You're in school. I used to have you all the time. I would just see you and I'd see you again. I have very limited time with you. I want that time to be special. I don't want you to be in an iPad. And when you want to spend more time in an iPad than with me, it makes me think you don't love me anymore. And they got so concerned. And I'm looking in the rearview mirror because I'm having this conversation with them, and I'm eyes to the road, right? Auntie Lisa, we love you. We love you so much, Auntie Lisa. And then that made me feel good. And then my nephew Tommy, who's 4, says, but we like the iPad too.
Auntie Lisa, I'm experiencing a duality right now. And I don't know where to put my feelings.
And you know duality, Lisa. You know I can love you and still love my iPad.
Right. Lessons from a 4-year-old.
So I just thought that was so funny, because I'm like, yeah.
Cute.
But it feels good to hear you still love me.
Yes.
Because for 40 minutes, all you're talking about is the iPad. When you have me.
How you're taking away from me.
He's giving me a little bit like, you're not that important, Auntie. We're going to see you again. It's fine.
I forgot what we were talking about going back to the break. And I had said something about wanting to be like the victim in the...
I think we were talking about, I was saying that life gives us lots of stuff to overcome. And that's really where I don't think we understand that being a hero is not rescuing someone from the top of the building, although that is heroic.
Right.
There are those
Right.
moments,
The
right?
sense of hero we're talking about is how are you actually showing up for you?
Every day.
Yeah.
Because there are so many opportunities to do small wins and
Yes.
acts of heroism that don't have you save someone from the top of the building. We had the firemen on the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're heroes. They're doing stuff. They're doing it every day.
Yes.
They have the opportunity to do that stuff every day.
And I just saw a thing on Facebook, just quick plug, that they are hiring.
Yes, and they did mention that when they were here, that
Yes.
they're hiring firefighters.
So-
And I'm going to talk about a hero, and you don't think of it this way. My cleaning company, the woman who does my cleaning, it was my hero because I'll tell you this funny story, which is not quite funny, but it's interesting. So I was approached by someone because I sold a lot of units in a particular condo complex. And they said, I have a family member. They need a studio. I see that you're selling some in there. Do you have someone? So I said, we do have a studio. It's not coming up till October because that's when the lease ends. We gave them notice that when the lease is up, they have the option to buy it. If not, we're going to put it on the market. But I can see if we can do something with that one sooner. So we contact them. The seller contacts the tenant and says, you have till October for your lease. If I give you a 60-day notice and if I give you no rent for that 60 days so that you can find another place, are you open to moving earlier? And the tenant said, let me think about it. And he's like, yeah, if I don't have to pay for rent for 2 months, I can save my money and I can go find a place. So yeah, he will. So we agreed to go under contract with these people. So we went under contract for 60 days, basically. And then it ended up that we could pull it in because he moved out actually a little bit sooner. He was able to find a place with the money. And then the people didn't show up for their final walkthrough. But back to the cleaner. So the tenant's moving out, and then we have a final walkthrough. So the cleaner was supposed to clean my house. Granite State Cleaning Company was supposed to clean my house on that Tuesday. I said, can I swap you to do this move-out clean for me instead?
Wow.
And she was like, absolutely. Tell me where to be, put the lockbox on. She did everything. And then they don't close.
Oh, my God.
They did not show up.
So all that work, effort, time, and energy.
And kicking out a tenant, not kicking him out, but doing the whole thing of moving him, rearranging his life to move out early.
Yeah.
Which also cost the landlord money because he wasn't collecting rent. Because he
Yeah.
was giving it was such a big deal. And not only did they not say, hey, can I have an extension? Or before the guy moved out, hey, I'm not buying this now. They just thought they would just
doesn't
not
he lose
show up.
earnest money?
Yes, he does lose earnest money. Because you didn't do anything within the contracts. And there's damages. It's not like, oh, and I can sell this to the next person tomorrow.
Right.
It's my client actually has financial damages too.
Yeah.
But my cleaning company, she does such a fantastic job. She does a fantastic job at my house. So I wanted to give her this plug because one of the reasons why I was constantly firing cleaners is they vacuum loudly or they do stuff loudly. And I think some cleaners think, oh, they have to hear that I'm working, but they would chip my furniture. Or they would chip the baseboard, literally chip off wood, chip off pieces.
Yeah.
I had bought all new furniture when I bought my house, and then I had someone come and clean, and I had my brand new furniture has 2 dings in it.
Or all your baseboards get all scuffed up.
Yeah, from them. And she never does that. She does such a good job of,
That's
she's
awesome.
actually cleaning, but she's not making a sound show of cleaning. She's
Right.
actually cleaning.
Right.
And she was like, hey, do you want me to clean your refrigerator? Or let's set aside some time and organize your pantry. She's open to so many things, and she's the reason
That's
why my
awesome.
pantry is
Yes,
organized.
it looks good, too.
So thank you, Jessica from Granite State Cleaning. She's amazing if you need a cleaner. I highly recommend
awesome.
that company.
Yeah, so those are heroes, and I just...
But if you don't consider yourself a hero in the small acts, then you won't do the little small things that does become heroic for somebody.
Actually, I was listening to you tell that story, like, I've actually used that word hero to a lot of people in service. If I've had to go and get something done, or I couldn't get the gas cap off of my car. It had just been like wrenched down and like
down.
I couldn't do it. So this guy comes over and I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, thank you. You are my hero. I've said it a few times to different people, like, because I really do feel like it's so nice for somebody to
step up and help.
Yes. The time my tire blew out and the guy picked me up and I rode back to the car dealership with him and we were talking and it comes to find out like we have his mom where we lived over in Hillsborough for a very short period of time. His mom owned one of the restaurants that we used to always go to. And it just so it struck up a conversation. And, he went above and beyond and just being helpful and being nice to me. And, he didn't have to do some of the things he did. And I just said, you know what? You have made my day. I said, you're my hero for the day. Or when I've been on the phone with somebody and I've, trying to get customer service on the phone and they've been rude or they've done something, I always say thank you. And she's like, is there anything else? And I said, no, just want you to know that you've been my hero. I said, you're my hero for the day. The people, how they respond to you afterwards, it's like they just want to radiate love. Like, why can't we all operate that way?
Because life stinks.
Yes.
Life is hard.
Yes. So
that's why.
So
we can try.
So we talked about we had talked about like the differences between victim and hero, and I didn't really. What I wrote down was heroes cherish remembered joy. They seek redemption. They're talk about overcoming and embracing life. They talk about things that empower. So I just thought, I had wrote down the differences: redemption versus retribution. When somebody's coming from a lack-minded, it's about the suffering. And we talked about this, suffering versus overcoming. And I'm like, wow, there's another way to say it. Hero versus victim. Are we focusing on the suffering that we're doing, or are we focusing on the overcoming?
And if you consider that you have agency, even if you don't like the options, you can choose the option that stinks the least.
Yes.
And I think I remember something was going on and I kept saying, I have to. And it was, I choose to, because when some of the things that I'm listing that I have to clean my house, I have to go food shopping. You actually don't have to do those things.
Right.
You can live in a dirty house. You can eat out at McDonald's every day. So you're choosing to.
Yes.
And the minute you rephrase that out loud, but also to yourself, it completely changes how you feel about doing something.
Yes.
Because my mother did not home cook meals. She was choosing, if I'm going to go to work outside of the home, I'm choosing to, I can't do everything. So I'm choosing what things I will and will not do.
Yeah.
And that probably I'm sure she probably didn't want to go work during that time period when I was a small child. I'm sure she probably didn't want to go back out into the workforce. But she was choosing to, so she was also she understand that there was choice was across the board.
I'm going to pick and choose something. I've got to lay something down, and I'm picking this up, so I've got to.
But we don't understand that all the time, and that's why I feel like so many of us. Oh, remind me about time moving faster. So many of us think, oh, well, I have to go to work and I have to cook all the meals from scratch and I have to make my own sourdough bread and I have to do this and I have to. No, you can choose to do what you're going to do. Take your laundry to the laundromat and pay 99 cents a pound or whatever they're charging and have someone else do your laundry.
Mm-hmm.
You can choose. You can do. There could be some more choices.
Yes.
And then that makes you feel less resentful. Because then you feel like there's
so many
obligations.
Yes, you can choose to delegate it out, responsibilities out. You can choose to structure your day differently. Like there's a lot of different things.
So the quantum physics, that's always coming to my phone now because I've got the sound medicine book on my Audible. This woman says, she's a quantum physicist, and she talks about the idea that we're moving faster.
Yes.
So she said there is a theory. So in our solar system, we're all spinning, and we're all spinning around our star, which is the sun. And we actually move closer and further away within our boundaries of being the same distance from the sun. There is still this slightly closer and slightly further away. The closer she was saying, I don't know what science backs this up, but she's a quantum physicist. I'm assuming
Quantum
there's some
physics.
science. Yeah, something.
One of those tough words.
Gravity, something. She says that the closer we get, when we're in the closest to the sun orbit, we all achieve a higher consciousness quicker, and time speeds up.
I believe that.
And because lately I've been feeling like, I feel like 2024 is over.
Yeah.
We hit the summer solstice and we're starting to go down the other side.
Yeah.
And I feel like this mad rush.
Yeah, it's like we hit
to
the
end of-
halfway point, and now it's like, okay, it's getting into, we're excited for it. We hit halfway, and then it's like, oh man. So we are hustling, trying to pack it all in before.
And the summer always makes
Winter's
me feel
coming.
rushed because I'm trying to squeeze in it's
I think
lighter
most of
later.
New Englanders do that.
We all do that. I remember when we moved to Hawaii, that first year was all of the things all of the time because weather permitted.
Yeah.
We were outside doing outdoor things every single day. We would watch the sunset every single night. We would go play bocce, or we would go bring a picnic.
Yes.
It was, and I remember this woman was lying out next to me. We were talking about something. She's like, "What are you doing later?" And I said, "Oh, we're going to go watch the sunset or whatever." She's like, "Oh, I'm going to go watch a movie." And in my head, I'm like, "Why are you wasting this weather on a movie?" Right? And she said, "Oh, you must be new here. Eventually, it doesn't matter. Every single day is the same. The weather's the same. So it's okay if you choose to watch a movie today because tomorrow there'll be a sunset you can watch." And I'm like, "I'm from New England. That doesn't happen."
Yeah. That's true.
I don't know if I'll ever lose
know.
that.
You're like, okay, we got 3 months, guys. Let's make it count.
So I feel that way in the summer. I feel so
Yes.
rushed up. And I'm like, well, maybe it does have to do with sunlight. Maybe there is.
I believe it.
I
Because
can-
I do. I think we're all connected. I think it's all connected. I do. I think it's all.
And I think the flowers are all rushing to push out all their flowers, and the leaves, everything is rushing. And my spouse pointed. He's like, "How does that pine tree have red leaves on it?" And he pointed. I said, "I don't see red leaves," because I panic. The minute I see a red leaf in our yard,
I know.
I get like a hot flash and
Like, what?
what? But I said, "But that's a pine tree. It can't possibly have red leaves on it." He's like, "By look, it has red leaves." And then we figured out it must be a skinny oak right next to it. But now the red leaves are gone. So either
Thank God.
the hawk. So I have a hawk family,
Oh.
and they've been around so much teaching their baby to fly. That was so beautiful to see that.
I sent you a picture of my baby bunny in our yard, and he
Yes.
literally is getting less than like 3 feet from us. And we're talking, and we're eating outside, and the silverware is clanging, and she's just, I don't know if it's a he or she, but she, because she's cute and
Yeah.
tiny, she's just chomping away, and she'll pause every once in a while. And so they were throwing little pieces of corn over there and throw a little watermelon at it, and she's not interested. But she didn't flinch, she didn't
Yeah.
move or anything. And I'm like, wow, she's getting bold.
So I showed my nephews. We were at the pool, and Robbie says, "Why don't they give her a carrot?" I said, "I think she's eating whatever she's eating. She's fine."
Yeah.
And then we get home last night, and a hummingbird got stuck in my garage.
Oh.
We did get her out, but the whole panic of everyone of
Yes.
is she going to be okay? Because they are losing their mind and they constantly go up because
Yeah.
they fly up.
Yes.
So I will give you a tip because once every year, a hummingbird gets stuck in my garage, and then I make sure to keep saying, "Don't ever keep the garage open."
Yeah.
For any reason, the garage has to be closed. And you take a rake with skinny tines and you put them up to the ceiling because they're constantly going to go up.
Yep.
And you get them to land on the tines, and then you slowly lower it
Oh.
and bring them to the garage door so that when they fly off it and go up, they're outside.
Wow. That's actually good. So they will fly onto it?
They won't fly onto it, but they eventually sit on it because they
Yeah.
can't keep flying. They
Flying,
need to
so they will
get
sit
purchased.
ground.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good.
So that
Wow.
skinny tine rake works for getting, but it does take a while. I think
Hashtag
it still
fun
took
fact.
me right. It still took me like 15 minutes, and they were the longest 15 minutes of my life. I was because she's expending so much energy flying around. I brought my bird feeder in thinking I could get her to drink, and then I could just walk that out. But it was the rake that got her out.
I actually thought you were going to say, open the garage door and put
Yep.
something colorful, red.
She's not even looking
Yeah.
down. Because normally
see
they
that.
fly up.
Yeah.
Just like flies go to light, so
Yeah.
they keep bouncing against a window.
Yeah.
When you've opened all the windows and then they fly in the middle of the house for some unknown reason. I'm trying to help you. I'm in my
I
most
know.
Buddhist self right now because I want to murder you.
I know. One of our upstairs windows, we've got like a little bit of I don't know what it is, but there's like a little baby bird feather. So they're like a little bit of goo and a bird feather, like just the tiny little tufts, like. But it's like you can tell that's fur. And I've tried to get it with the hose, like just power blasting you, but it's so high up, I can't get it, and I can't lower it and lean my arm down because it's not one of the ones that flip down. So I'm like, oh, it irritates me, and I'm like, man, I'm so tired of seeing that dead bird feather on that. I'm like, I don't think it died, but it must have it had some trauma.
It waned. It bashed into the window. Your really clean windows.
Yes. Yes. So one of my takeaways, I was just thinking about how sometimes we don't have an awareness of how we're actually showing up, and then we get upset about why somebody is responding to us the way we are. And I just thought, what if we could just pause for a minute and like maybe our conversation isn't going the way we want it to go, or, tensions are getting elevated or higher. If we could just have that moment to pause and be like, wait a minute, what am I bringing into this interaction? And just taking time to ask ourselves, is there a possibility that I am bringing the energy to this person? And now I've put them in fight or flight mode and they're responding from that place. Like, have I triggered a trauma?
Well, I was thinking if it's not going the way you want to go, I think we always want to be heard.
Yes.
But if you're both trying to be heard, no one's hearing
Yes.
anything. So maybe try to listen. And listening's hard.
Listen, yes, active listening is hard, being present.
Really hearing what the person has to say. Just the way, one of the techniques we learned about listening was listen like you're listening to music. Listen for the overt things that are being said, and then the tone.
Yes.
And then what's not being said.
Yes.
What's that feeling that's not being said?
The intent to understand. You're listening with the intent to understand. That's like, I like that.
And I think I probably don't do that enough. There's enough times that I have to actively say stop and listen. Just listen.
Yes.
And that means you have to give space, because have you ever felt like someone is always interrupting you?
Yes.
And sometimes I've been like, well, maybe I'm interrupting them. Maybe that pause that I thought was my turn to speak was just a pause of them thinking what they need to say next.
How they're going to expand. Yeah, and it's a one-sided conversation when you enter conversations like that, because they're not interested. And where I'm trying to grow my muscle is just not continuing. Like, why do I want to continue a conversation with this person when they have showed me every time they interrupt me that they're not interested in what I have to say? So I'm not going to waste my energy. And that's because, I'm a debater. I love, I like to debate. I like to contemplate.
We're verbal processors.
Yes.
Everything we don't know what we think until we've said it.
Yes, and so sometimes just being able to respond verbally helps me get clear and get centered on how I actually am I agreeing with you, or am I? But the takeaway is, if somebody is not going to create space to listen to me and hear me, don't waste my energy. Don't waste my energy on it. They're showing you exactly how they're interpreting this conversation. And I'm like, I thought we were having dialogue. I didn't know it was a speaker event. My bad. Wait, I didn't purchase a ticket. I didn't think I was in the audience. You're welcome. You can take that with you.
Oh my God. I want that. That is awesome.
Can't.
Oh my God.
Oh.
I thought we were in a conversation. I'm attending a conference.
Didn't.
Hey, let me get my notebook.
Wait, I didn't pay for VIP.
I'm not going to get to meet you after.
Shoot. I didn't bring a pen, and I'm probably not going to ask you for an autograph. Just saying.
Oh my God.
So I actually made a post the other day talking about Introspection.
You were always so funny. You were always so funny. Sometimes you catch me, even though I know how funny you are, and we're always laughing, sometimes you still catch me really off guard.
Oh my God. I have some stuff. I'm like, I just don't know if we can say it on the radio. And I love when we finally can get into a flow and just being like, yeah, here it is. And I was like, oh yeah, that's good. I love when it just pops up.
There is so many listeners that like the next time my spouse talks to me, I'm throwing this out. I'm writing this down for later. And then there's another spouse. If they listen together, I know a couple people listen together. They're both going to throw it at each other.
And you can just do hashtag Robinism. I told the kids a long time ago I had my own dictionary. So anyway, I was talking about reflection and how important it is to have introspection. And based upon this lady in her books, and she's talking about how feelings are going to dictate our reality, that introspection requires us to be acutely aware of our feelings and the vibrations that they emit. And I think that's where we get into pitfalls, because it's like, how are we showing up? Like, how are we showing up? And so one of the things I was thinking about is,
I'm showing up like a hot mess, like a dumpster fire some days. Some days I feel like I am
coming in hot. I do love that phrase, coming in hot.
I always picture, when I picture a hot mess, I just picture like Alfredo sauce falling off the stove onto the floor. Sometimes that's how I think, I feel like a hot Alfredo sauce on the floor.
A hot mess. Yes. Red sauce for me, I think it would be. But I actually just thought about it. Like, so one of the things I'm like, well, if you don't like your circumstances, if you don't like the environment that you're in, are you the type of person to do something about it? Or are you the type to complain about it? Because at any moment we can change the environment. We can change the environment and being like, I get to dictate. Like, if I don't like the way the conversation is going at the dinner table, and I walk away and complain about it, I'm a victim. Because I didn't do anything to change the energy. I didn't create a pattern interrupt. I didn't do anything to bring peace. I didn't do anything to bring joy. So, I mean, that's where I feel like I get emotional about it, because I'm pretty passionate about it. Like, what are you waiting for? Why are you, I want to say the B word, but like, why are you fussing about it? Get off your ass and do something about it. You're just waiting for someone else. You're waiting for somebody else to change the temperature of the room to make you feel better.
That is, I do think that's the idea of victimhood. You're waiting for someone else to change your circumstances.
Right.
And no one is ever going to. You have to be the hero in your own story.
Right.
Otherwise, you're the victim of your own
How
story.
many times are you going to complain that you're hungry and you do nothing? You do nothing to go do anything for it. And when someone suggests, "Hey, would you like to stop and get something? You want to get a snack? Do you want to eat a meal?" No, just wait. Don't go. I'll just wait. I'm just going to wait. Oh, okay. Are you waiting for someone else to solve your problems, or are you doing it yourself? And that's where I'm like, hey, we get a choice every single day to be a hero or a victim. We don't like our circumstances. There's one small thing that we can do to change the vibration instead of waiting for somebody else to set your scene.
So this is a horrible study. Half the reason why I hate scientific studies is they
love
use
horrible
animals.
Studies.
Right.
Well, not animals. I don't do that.
So and they were always trying stuff on animals, but it actually makes a really good point to human beings. They take a dog and they tie it so that it can only move in a circle right where it is. It cannot go anywhere. At some point, however long it takes, they can take the chain off and the dog will never leave.
Oh, the elephants. Same thing. I heard the study where they do the
So,
elephants.
But that, we think we're not animals. We are animals, and we do the same thing. If we chain ourselves to whatever scenario we don't understand, we can leave.
Right.
And I don't mean physically.
Right.
But maybe I do mean physically.
Physically or mentally. I feel like we're constantly we're going to...
Part of my thing about complaining about New England and complaining about the weather, so I try my damnedest, and I fail all the time about not complaining about New England weather. Because when I knew, we joke that New England has beautiful places. You can go to 5 different states an hour and a half away from all of each other. You can go to Canada. You can go to the ocean. You can go to the mountains. We have this is, and the food here compared to other places in the country is amazing because we are a melting pot. We
Yes.
have Chinatown.
We have so much at our fingertips.
We have so much at our fingertips, except the weather. So when people tell me, "Oh my God, you're so lucky to have curly hair," I'm like, humidity. I'm going to take a picture of when I'm in my house and my hair looks. I'm going to do it, and then step outside 15 minutes later. It's, it's humidity. A
hot mess.
We lack the part of it that makes New England not perfect.
Yes,
is the weather.
Yes.
So I try not to complain about it because and that was one reason why I left when I moved away. And people say, "Why did you move here?" At first, I used to say, "Have you been outside?"
Yeah.
And then when people would be like, "Yeah, but," I would say, "Have you been to New England? Have you been to Boston?"
My daughter said to me yesterday, and we were driving down the road, and she said, because I was asking her about the weather, and she looked it up, and she said, "Do you know at 7:00 this morning it was 100% humidity?" I mean, because this was like 11:00 in the morning, and it was just stuffy hot, and I'm like, wow, we haven't had this, and I'm like, I'm not going to complain because we have such a short season,
right?
I'm like, that's exactly what I said. And she's like, well, it says it's gone down to 68%. And I was like, wow, this is what 68% humidity looks like. And we're walking through the parking lot. She's like, right? And I just slept it.
Look at my hair. Is my hair saying 68%? My hair is saying 99%.
Right. Oh, so listen. So we always talk about animals and how we're fascinated by nature and watching these creatures, birds, they don't store their food, just the amazing gifts that, animals can slow their heart rate down to get through the winter. They have all these amazing, miraculous things that they do. So that thought, when I was watching the night come on and I was watching all the birds in our yard and I was watching our bunny and just cool to experience nature and life outside of. And I just thought, and I'm sitting here in awe of these creatures, and I'm like, when do we actually take the time to see how incredible we are? If we actually took the time to see ourselves from the way that God created us, the intention, the care, and the detail. We see the care and the detail in the magic in the other animals, but we don't do that for us.
We have believed that we are independent of nature, not that we are nature. Because we say, "Oh, go back out in nature." We are nature.
Yes, we are nature, but we're separating ourselves from it.
We are separating ourselves.
So we're gonna go. Random
Fun
thought.
fact.
Yes. Well, so random
Okay.
thought, real quick. I wrote down, I'm not interested in where your ego takes you. I'm interested in where your soul leads you. I'm like, because that's like high vibration people. People that are high vibration, it's their soul. It's leading them to their journey, and also something to empower. I heard it on the movie the other day, and it's come back a few times. Shame is something that you put on and wear. Guilt is something that you feel about what you've done or what you didn't do to others or to yourself. Those are both tools that we pick up. We choose that. Somebody has said to me the other day, well, we were raised to feel shame and guilt. But here's the beauty of it. At any moment, you get to change it. And one of those is a tool for me. Shame is something that I get to put on. Just because I was brought up in that environment or if I was exposed to that doesn't mean I have to do it anymore. Anyway, I just want to leave you with that thought. And what was your fun fact?
Bats are a protected species in New Hampshire. That each bat eats over 2,000 mosquitoes a day.
Wow.
A night.
Wow. And how many mosquitoes are there? Because
I know. I know. And
I think they breed worse than rabbits.
And so if you think you dislike bats, you love bats.
Yes, I do love bats.
I do too, actually.
We used to have bat houses at our old house.
I want to put one in mine.
Mosquitoes were horrible.
Come and eat the fruits of my yard. Thank you for tuning in to Lisa and Robin on the mic. We hope you have enjoyed these 2 hours as much as we have. You are listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live as well as Facebook and YouTube. And if you miss an episode, you can listen to us on Spotify.
Yes.
Until
on
next
YouTube.
Thursday. We will see you then. Have a great week, guys.